employer.
Hello everyone, this is Olga show from You to You every Saturday night. We are back on air and here we have special guest. Thank you for coming to our show, Bonnie Sugiyama.
Yeah.
She is San Jose State University, still a student.
No, I'm actually the director of the Women's Resource Center and the LGBT Resource Center.
And then you are actually were a student at some point at San Jose State University, yes?
Actually, I went to Sacramento State.
Wow,
Yeah,
that doesn't matter.
Sorry.
So we found out two universities and that they collaborate and it's also nice. We also have Lily Ledbetter and her book, Grace and Grit. Here I'm pointing out. Hello, Lily.
Hello.
And you came from far, far away.
Deep South,
Yes, where's from?
Alabama.
Alabama, where you are first guest from Alabama. That's kind of even nice because I actually met her today at South Bay Women's Conference. I received an information and I said, well, I have to come and visit, and I'm glad that I did. I have very tight schedule. It's International Women's Day today. And we have so many things happening in Russian community and also in American community, and it's nice to see. I don't know if it's coincidental you did on March 8th, but you did talk about ladies and women's rights, and so that was kind of interesting. Tell me, Lily, about your book.
The book is about my story and about how I worked for 19 years for a corporation and then learned that I was being paid so much less than the white men doing the same work. It was the exact same job, just a different shift. And I couldn't let it go. I was 2 years away from retirement, but it was just such a devastating fact for my family, what we had gone without and how hard life had been. I just couldn't let it go because there was a law that said I was supposed to be paid equally for equal work, which was signed 50 years ago this year. It's 50 years old this year.
1963.
June 10th, 1963. And even though it was 2 years away from retirement and I thought about it, not only affected my pay, my overtime pay, but it affected my retirement, my 401k, and my Social Security today as well. And it'll go on for the rest of my life. I filed a charge and went to federal court, and I won in federal court, but when we got to the Supreme Court, 5 justices voted against me.
Isn't it because you filed too late? Because you had to file from the wrongdoing 6 months after. Is that because, right? That's
that's what they said, but that's a technicality, and that's not the way the law had previously been interpreted. It had always been based on paycheck accrual, which means if you're still getting a check and you find out you're being discriminated against for whatever reason, your sex, your nationality, your color, whatever, you've got 180 days in any state in this nation to file a charge. And that's what I did. And what the Ledbetter Law, the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Restoration Act, puts the law back to exactly where it was prior to my ruling. And that's why when the verdict came out, Justice Ginsburg challenged Congress to take it up and change the law back. So it's back just like it was, even if you work like I did somewhere for 19 years or 30 years and find out. But there's no incentive to wait anyway because you can only go back 2 years. 2 years is far back as you can go, and in a lot of cases, like in my case, I won a $3.8 million award, but the judge lowered the $3 million to $300,000 because there was a cap. So there's no incentive to wait like a lot of judges and corporate people say that people would do, because the sooner you file, the sooner you get what you're entitled to.
So that Fair Act of 2009 was called by your name, Lily Ledbetter, and you stand up and you speak up. Was it easy to do?
No, it took me 9 years from the time I filed the charge until I got the final verdict. My family and I was involved in that for 9 years. It was a long process. And then I ended up not getting any money. I never got a dime, never will get a dime, because when the Supreme Court rules against you, that's as far and as high as you can go. So that stopped everything. But at that point in time, it was no longer about me. It was about my daughter, my granddaughter, and all the young women and the American families that are still working. And I first thought, being from the South, this was just a deep Southern problem, but it's definitely not. I found out very quickly that it's worldwide. The first invitation I had after the bill was signed into law was to Rome, Italy.
And what about statistically in America, what the woman get paid in average compared with the man?
Right now, if you're a white woman, you average, for the last 10 years, you average 77 cents to each $1 that the men make. And if you're African American, it's around 64 cents, and Hispanics, it's in the 54 cents and lower. In some cases, it's in the 40 cents. And they've also done a study recently that I participated in where the young African American women are coming out of colleges with doctorates, and they're starting out, their average starting pay is 82 cents to each $1. Now this is not right. Doing the same job, and another problem with women too, we usually live longer and outlive spouses, and we live a lot longer, so we really should be compensated fairly.
And you are a tireless advocate for fair pay. You have been doing frequent appearances on the Rachel Maddow Show, Hardball with Chris Matthews, CBS Morning Show with Gayle King and Charlie Rose, The Lost World with Lawrence O'Donnell, The Ed Schultz Show, The Colbert Report with Stephen Colbert, and I actually had the chance to meet him, and he
He's
had
wonderful. It was a treat. That
Yes.
was a highlight of my.
You didn't jump on him as Jenny Fox did and
No.
start kissing him and stuff?
No.
Or, or pretend or whatever. Not necessarily kissing,
Yeah.
I don't know, but I heard about that story. I wasn't here in America at the
But
time.
he was wonderful. You can still Google that appearance. It was October the 31st in
Which year?
2013. And
Oh,
Wow.
well, I missed
That
that,
was
so I had definitely should check that out. I know that he said that one of his colleagues bought flowers for his wife, and when he came home, she saw him with the flowers and said, "What's wrong? What did you do wrong?"
right, that's right.
And he like, "Well, I had Janie Fox," and she said, "No, I don't need your roses." And then when she saw actually the interview and how he was sitting still, but I think Janie Fox looks good, and that's important. I know it's not easy to look good, and by the way, you both look wonderful. I'm very happy to see you. And here's my intern, who, as I told you, tried to have a tie.
Oh,
to
you're
fix.
right. You do need help with the tie.
It's-
Yeah, I can help you with that.
Thank you. You seem to have great tie-tying skills.
All right. Yeah, Bonnie came all the way from San Jose State, to help you with that, and from South Bay Conference, just to help you to make a tie.
It takes expertise to help my tie-tying skills.
All right. I was not able to help because I said I'm too busy with the show and no time to tie the tie here. Okay. So, but anyway, I would like to know. Thank you, first of all, to come into Olga's show all the way from Alabama, and thank you, Bonnie, to bring great keynote speaker to your South Bay conference, which happened today in San Jose State University. It's third annual conference,
Yes.
and my first time. Thank you for being invited there. Tell me what drive you guys to make this conference happening.
Well, the conference actually started 2 years ago. It was a student-driven conference, so we had a couple of students who really wanted to put on something for women in the South Bay because I felt like there was a need for that. And so each year the conference addresses different things. And so this year we really thought that getting women and girls involved in STEM careers, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics careers, was a very important topic. And it's starting to really hit the nation as something that is important because our numbers are actually dwindling in the classroom of women in these fields, and so there's this big push to try to figure out, well, why is that? How come our numbers are lower now than they have been in the 80s even? And so there's a real push
Because
to try
maybe it's not equal pay.
well, that's part of it, but a lot of it is girls are they're not encouraged to they show interest when they're younger, and then at certain ages they're not encouraged to keep that up. Or there's the toys that we give girls do not encourage growth. Like there's an example of like Lego in the 80s used to market very evenly to boys and girls with like the same color logos. It was a gender neutral toy. But now you'll see Lego has very specific toys for boys and very specific toys for girls. Why is that? Why has our culture changed so much that we are now going really backwards in our thinking of how children even engage in play, and play is how we learn things.
And when do you start to organize these conferences? You brought a lot of wonderful speakers. You have politicians there too.
Yeah, we started back in June of last year.
And you had welcome from City of San Jose Council member Rose Herrera, District 8. Then you also have a Congress lady coming to you from U.S. House of Representatives, Congressman Zoe Lofgren.
Yeah.
She is like in a lot of places and meetings, which is nice to see. And of course, NASA Research Center, all ladies try to come and support other ladies. That's always nice. That helps.
Yeah.
Because united we stand, right?
Right.
That's right.
And so now when you're attracting more ladies, and of course, what do you expect from those conferences? What do you try to achieve but making it happen?
Well, I think part of it, what we're trying to do is help to encourage, not only encourage people to get into the fields, but how do we, for people that are already in those fields, how do they use the power that they've attained, being managers, being teachers, being, congresspeople, like how do they use the positions that they're in now to help people continue in those positions. So, Zoe Lofgren, works on policies and laws, and even like funding issues to be able to help, the teacher, Dr. Singmaster, to be able to create programs to engage minority and women students in the sciences, to be able to get them that experience that they need to be able to get jobs. And, in government funding for the person working at, for Dr. Dotson working at NASA, to be able to accomplish their goals. And one of the things that they talked a lot about was mentorship and, how can they mentor different people and how can they, create teachable moments for the people that they touch. So it could be as small as Dr. Dotson giving an example of like outreaching to women who are pregnant, working at NASA, making sure that they know that they have a support network there. Dr. Singmaster, opens up her door and allows people to come in and talk with anything that they need to talk about, but also make sure that they have the experience that they need in the classroom and in the lab, so that when they apply for a job that requires 2 years of lab experience, that they can say that they have 2 years of lab experience.
You also had President Chief of Staff as a moderator
Yes.
from San Jose State University, Dorothy Pohl.
Dorothy Poole, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and when you organized this, how, like for instance, how did you find them and Lily Ledbetter? I mean, this is like to bring her all the way from Alabama.
Yeah.
And knowing that for 9 years, and she's still tirelessly fighting for equal pay, letting other ladies know and stand up, could be retired and sitting home, right?
Could.
And she's like, no, it's affecting my granddaughters, my daughters. I want to be sure that it would not happen with anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, why Lily?
Why Lily? So Lily was an idea that was brought to us by AAUW, which is the American Association of University Women, and they were very key in helping Lily's case. Lily can speak more to that, but they're a great advocacy organization in this nation, and so but there's a lot of different chapters in this area. Specifically, we were working with the San Jose branch of AAUW here, and so they really spearheaded coming to us and saying, hey, we would like to bring Lily here, and so we got that happening on one side, and we were putting on this conference on another side, and we're like, hey, fair pay is a big issue within the STEM careers as well. It's even worse in those careers for women. So why don't we pair the two and try to make the conference as big as possible with that?
So Lily, tell me, how did you find those organizations, or they find you? I guess when you started your court law case,
They found me.
case,
They found me. They found me
you
when I
after
got
so
to the
many
White
years,
House.
right? When
Actually.
you went to White House, but you were lonely for some period of time,
Oh, yes.
fighting in the court.
Yes.
I mean, that's a lot of paperwork, and it's a lot of struggle, frustration, and discovery, and so forth. So kind of, we went through a few courts, and I went through some studying the law, and it's like, oh my God, I had to write a lot of new words in my notebook and learn them.
Oh yeah. Legal terms are always complicated. It's like for some reason lawyers just don't like English.
But then it's actually,
Latin.
you have to follow, it's like new language. I don't know if it's Latin. It's
Latin?
like
No.
special.
The lawyers love Latin because no one else knows Latin.
Yeah.
So, which organization did you like the most then, Lily, to help you? Which one you want to mention today at the show so other ladies can go there and work? Girls and
Well,
Any.
right now I would support the American Association of University Women, which is referred to as AAUW, because they have the STEM program, which is the engineering, technology, and encouraging young women and girls to get into math and sciences, which is normally in the past always been considered a man's or a boy's class. And that they promote that, and they also do the Start Smart programs, which trains young people coming out of college how to negotiate their starting pay, because it's so critical that you get the correct pay that you're entitled to and should be getting for your background, your education, and your experience you're bringing to that job. And it should not have anything to do with your sex, your color, your nationality, or anything. It should be based strictly on your qualifications and the job. And that's why I believe so much in the American Association of University Women. And young people can get to be a part of that organization while they're still in college. And they also get information fed back to them from DC, what the government's doing, what they're passing. And people don't realize it, but we each have a voice and we have a vote, and you can make that known. And people need to realize that when we send our people to Washington to represent us back home, they need to remember who they're representing. They need to look out for our welfare and our benefit. And if we feel like they're not doing that, then we should contact them and let them know, because they do listen, especially when a lot of people. And the first time I went to Congress and went to to speak up about equal pay in my case and the devastation of losing in the Supreme Court when I should not have, was when I met AAUW representatives.
You called your book Grace and Greed.
Right.
Tell us, why that name for your book?
The grace is because I did ballroom dancing for 8 years. I competed around the nation. I got all the way to Miami, Florida on the Grand Nationals. Was quite good, but I had to give it up because of the job schedule I ended up having. And the grit, of course, if you read that book, you'll find out where the grit was. It was in surviving in what had been traditionally a man's job in a man's world, but it was a good job for a woman. It's just organization and following through and what your responsibilities are. And but it was in fact the writer I had, she's the one that came up with it, because she was astounded that I had been a ballroom dancer. She said, well, you clean up awfully good for a rubber worker. And I said, that's right. But,
You probably did some dancing move when you did this work, right?
Right. It took a lot of dancing moves for that. Climbing in some overhead ladders and on the buildings too sometimes.
And I heard that ballroom dancing actually helped you to dance with Barack Obama when you
It's true.
finally were recognized for all of your hard work, never giving up on for rights not of yourself anymore, but for women's rights, for
That's-
equal pay.
That's true. I was the second one to get to dance with him at the first inauguration ball. He danced with Michelle at the neighborhood ball, and I was the second one. And there is a full life 8x10 photo of that in the Washington Post hardback book on the inauguration. And I'm very proud of that. It's quite an honor. And after the bill was signed, I thought, well, I get back to Alabama, that's my Washington career, that's over. Well, 2 weeks later, they called and said Michelle would like you to come and sit in her box when he gave his first address. So I got to go back to Washington and sit in her box, and I've been invited back quite a few times, and last year it was several times I was invited. And it really is humbling for this girl from rural Alabama, where I grew up very poor, and tried to scrap and earn a living for my family all those years. But it's very humbling to be invited into that great White House that belongs to this country and the nation. And on one occasion last year, I'm looking around the room, and it's all these actresses and actors and entertainers and people at the top of corporations and companies, and I'm thinking, and here's Lily Ledbetter in this group. And then I start out, and there was a big group of photos, and right in the center was the bill signing. And I thought, that's why I'm here, because it's quite rare to have a law named for you. they tell me in Alabama I'm probably the only person from Alabama with a law named for me, and there's less than 36 in the history of the nation.
Wow, congratulations.
Wow. Congratulations. That's pretty amazing.
That's rare.
And tell me, coming from Alabama to California, Silicon Valley, we're in San Jose, capital of Silicon Valley. I never have been in Alabama. I heard the song, right? We can
Sweet
find that
Alabama.
song a little bit. Yeah, Sweet Alabama. I don't know why it's Sweet Alabama. Why they call it sweet? Because it's sweet something? I don't know.
I don't know. I never got that one, but it's it's a beautiful state. We're a little bit backwards. We could do some progression to be up with the.
Apparently, it grows strong ladies, and that's good.
We do as Southern ladies, and we do come out fairly strong. But it needs to be advanced in a lot of areas, and we have a lot of car manufacturers in the state now. We have a lot of manufacturing in the state. Several tire plants, and we have Mercedes and Honda and Hyundai and I don't know what all in the state, but we have a lot of manufacturing. We've just gotten the another big manufacturer that'll go down to the coast on the water. So the state grows, but we just need to take care of our people better. And of course, we have Roll Tide and War Eagle in our state.
Roll Tide.
That's right.
That's right.
And what do you think of Silicon Valley? Did you see any difference coming to our state and place?
Oh yes, this is quite a large spread out area and very, very nice. I was speaking with Bunny on the ride over about what a house out here costs, but it didn't take me long to realize I can't afford this. So I'm gonna have to stay in Alabama.
Neither can most people here.
Don't worry.
Yeah, that's you definitely have to have equal pay for that if you want to survive in California.
You need really good equal pay for that.
Really high
Better
pay.
than equal pay.
Better than equal pay. So people try and work in many jobs, and that's life is hard. Of course, weather is much nicer.
Oh,
Do you have
yes.
snow right now or no? I'm
No,
not sure.
we don't get much snow in Alabama. We have had it twice this year, but I was fortunate. I was traveling out the state, and they called me and said your flights are getting changed. So I flew out, and by the time I got back, it was gone. So I was very fortunate because Alabama's 2 flakes of snow and we're shut down. I mean, nobody, they got to go buy milk and bread, and then they can't go anywhere. They think, and everybody's got to stay in, and it's just it's sort of comical in a way. And it's not that we're so, not have the equipment to take care of the snow and ice, but the second snow and ice that came, they had 1.5 inches of ice down under the snow, and it shut the state down.
Wow.
I mean, it literally shut them down. A lot of wrecks, and I'm sure you folks saw it on the news. It's quite, but I missed that one too.
And I would like to ask Bonnie, actually, your work in San Jose State University, why you chose that work, and
Well, I guess in college I got into women's rights and LGBT rights, and so I got my start working in women's centers. So I started out working at, when I went to Stanislaus State, I was part of a feminist club there, and that group had gotten a women's center started on that campus. And so when I transferred to Sacramento State, one of the first things I looked for was a women's center to be involved with. And so I found it, and that became my home. I ended up being hired as a student assistant there, and through that I ended up finding a career. So my actual background in education is completely opposite, but I found my home in social justice work. Yeah.
But in your both lives, I can see that you have to help other women. You have to make them feel strong, stand up for their rights. What keep you going, and how did you find the guts to do that, and energy, and whatever it takes?
Well, I think it's it's planting seeds of change, and so even no matter what we do, even though our conference today happened to be small, but I think it can make big changes in individual lives. And so even if nobody comes up and talks to us at a table, people know that there's support there, so that they know if something does happen, they know where to go to. And so for me, just being able to give people comfort and peace of mind is something that I take pride in.
And Bonnie, actually, Lily, tell me, when you talk to Bonnie and you see she's, much younger, trying to achieve something different,
Right.
and also support lots of women on her way, lots of girls to
Right.
stand up for their rights and their choices. What about you? What's make you feel strong and keep going all these years? And what you will wish to other women
Well,
and men if they want to join and listen? Okay, wherever it's helped you in life to survive.
Well, I just feel like what Bonnie does, that even if you just help one person, mentorship and encourage them, and a lot of people don't realize what can happen to an individual in a family when they're not treated equitably and fairly. Even though we have the laws, they're still not enforced oftentimes, and that's basically what happened to me. And I was just standing here listening to Bonnie thinking that my life, how different it would have been had I met a Bonnie early in my life. But I never met anyone like her in my early career. It was always go do more and do this and do that, and never how to progress and how to help myself, and that would have made a tremendous difference.
So even if she didn't receive support, you still had, guts and energy and desire to do it. But if you have more support and knowledge and expertise, of course, it will be much easier. So thank you, Bonnie, and thank you, Lily, for coming to Olga's show. Stay with us a little bit after 7 because we're going to learn some Russian language with you in your area. That's a surprise. You're welcome to stay, and that's, believe me, it would be easy. Only good words we're going to teach you. And that's Olga's show, From You to You, every Saturday night. Lily Ledbetter and Bonnie Sugiyama was with us, right? Did I say it right? Yeah, this is some Japanese I'm learning today. And thank you for listening Olga's show. Once again, on Ustream, you're going to see us at any time. And also YouTube, we're going to post that like tomorrow. Would be available. And please welcome to share it with your friends. And we will be happy to hear from you. What would you like to hear? What would you like to do? This is Olga's show, From You to You, every Saturday night.
You're
So
listening
now we have
to
3
You.
minutes.